Alright guys, welcome back. After we're done with the noise reduction process and also normalizing the audio file, now we can start working on equalizers. Now first off, what is an equalizer, or what an equalizer exactly does? Right, normally we have something called a frequency spectrum, and humans could actually hear something in between 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Now, although we're able to, most of the times, to be honest, we cannot hear something higher than 16 kHz. If I'm not mistaken. You know what, we're going to check this later on in more detail, don't worry. Now, we tend to manipulate these frequencies a lot in our projects. Sometimes we might increase them, sometimes we might reduce them. More specifically, let's say, for example, sometimes we like to add a bass to our voice, which would happen mostly when a man tries to record an audio file. For the ladies, though, they would usually go with something less bassy, like a soprano or something. Or, like a specific frequency. They would work with a specific frequency, which we're going to see later on. Now, let's go ahead and open up equalizers here. By the way, guys, there are some plugins that we can use here as well. For example, we have the filter, which is a plugin that we can use. But for now, we're just going to focus on what we have in the software itself. Don't worry, though. Later on, we're going to talk about all of the required plugins as well. All right. Now, here from Filter and EQ, we can find parametric equalizers. We have some other items here as well. However, nowadays, these aren't that much important. So let's just go ahead and select this item, parametric equalizers. All right, when we click on it, this window would open. Let's see what we have. First off, you can select vocal enhancer from this preset list here. Okay, let's test this.
نویز محیط رو بهتر بشنوه نرم افزار. اولش که چقدر نویز داریم. این فایل صوتی رو دارم برای تست میگیرم و آخر ویدیو سکوت میدم تا نویز محیط رو بهتر بشنوه.
Alright, this was vocal enhancer. Now let's try another one. For example, acoustic guitar.
میفته این اولش که چقدر نویز داریم.
Now this one, loudness maximizer, for example. This one would increases the volume at both ends. Let's hear it.
میفته این اولش دارم برای تست میگیرم و آخر ویدیو سکوت میدم تا نویز محیط رو بهتر بشنوه.
Although we have reduced the noises here, the sound is a little bit unclear. This is why I said the room or the environment is very important. Alright, I'm gonna set this back on default. Well, actually, if we even go with vocal enhancer here, we would see a raise in the volume at the end part here. So this is something that usually happens. For example, sometimes the bass sound is being increased. Sometimes we might have some noises that just exist. We cannot hear them. They just exist. For example, here we got 40 Hz. I'm going to change this to 20 instead. Now we cannot hear this noise anymore. Then in here, you can actually specify a number for a gradient that you can use for cutting this noise out. And also we can do this even manually, as you can see. We can easily move this and set it on the gradient that we want to. Now, instead of gradually cutting this out, I'm going to increase the gradient and cut it out suddenly. And by the way, guys, later on when we are discussing the plugins, we would see that we can actually use those plugins for creating even better gradients for cutting these noises. For now, seems like I have to move this to 30 Hz instead of 20. Alright, now for the other side, I'm going to change this to 16 Hz, so 16,000. And also the gradient. So again, we won't be able to hear anything after these frequencies. Later on, we're going to circle back to these when we are discussing plugins. Alright, moving on. For this part here, this would be where the process gets a little bit optional, kinda. Well, maybe let me give you another point here. I'm going to set this on 1000 Hz. Now, if we try manipulating this, we would be able to add some colors to our sound. Let me just remove the silent parts in my audio file. And also maybe this beginning part. I'm just going to go with the parts that I set directly to the microphone. Right. Let me play this again.
این فایل صوتی رو دارم برای تست میگیرم و آخر ویدیو سکوت میدم تا نویز محیط رو بهتر بشنوه نرم افزار. این فایل صوتی رو دارم برای تست میگیرم و آخر ویدیو سکوت میدم تا نویز محیط رو بهتر بشنوه نرم افزار. این فایل صوتی رو دارم برای تست میگیرم و آخر ویدیو سکوت میدم تا نویز محیط رو بهتر.
See, this is exactly what I meant by adding colors to our sound. In other words, we can change up our sound a little bit by changing this 1000 Hz frequency, which is completely based on you and your taste.